Hello, hello. Welcome to this amazing new news podcast episode with a dear friend, Zena Khalil. Welcome, Zena Khalil.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for surfacing in the right time. I got in touch with you, and thank you for responding to a request that came really spontaneous, and it was very much, alhamdulillah, in synchronicity with where you are at, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you for being the muse for this episode. Zena, I'm gonna briefly talk to, in general, what I know about you, and also because you combine many things, and it's been a journey really of ongoing exploration, ongoing dives of death and rebirth, which we're going to touch on today. And it gets trickier to define who we are when we are in a world of ongoing exploration, and also be it in exploring consciousness based on specific traditions, specific lenses that we resonate with, all the way to what do we do, who we are at the moment. As we were preparing for this episode, I know Zena is an artist. Zena is a tantric practitioner. Zena is a devotee to a path that has called out for her heart, or to her heart, or through her heart. How can we start today with one of the portals that you would like to start touching on that is based in tradition, that is based in what you have delved so deep in over and over and over again, with many cycles, and what is bringing you to surface again now and to be with us today?
Thank you, Maya, and thank you for finding me the right place at the right time. Yeah, I would say that my life so far has been, as you mentioned, the cycles of births and deaths and rebirths and more deaths. But perhaps the overarching thread that links these various cycles in my life is the devotion to truth and love. And love has been my tool for exploration, as well as my chariot of death. And love is a concept. Love is a state. Love is a feeling, until love becomes reality, until love becomes truth. And I think I've had the wonderful gift to explore this through many different facets, mostly through art, poetry, writing, creative expression, painting. And then came the journey, the real journey of death that comes through the surrendering. And we can call that the spiritual path, although I think that all of life, everything is the spiritual path. It's just a process of recognition, of where our commune is happening, these daily moments, these larger deaths. It's all the beautiful dance with consciousness, dance of consciousness. But I would say that love and devotion are the common threads in this journey, in this lifetime.
Yeah. Very relatable, and also, you've really dipped your toes quite deep also in that world of alchemy, in that world of, be it shamanism from the Eastern philosophies, because shamanism is quite a shared, foundation It's really going into the unknown, is tapping into the unseen. That is very much about going into cycles of dying to the old, and exploring the new aspects of self while being also here in this realm, in this physical body. And from here, I would like to touch on how much this requires from people who are of service, who are here somehow, you know, they've tried to step out of being who they are by, again, trying to find a job. I raise my hand here, you know, trying to find a job and going again in that linear way, and it just doesn't work. How much does this require in that journey of going into those deep dives of devotion, also to lose everything, including so-called community, and really honor one's journey of going back into that cocoon, becoming a muck again, and then resurfacing again. Can we talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that process of death is you could summarize the spiritual path as the process of coming to terms with death. There is so many levels of death, right? There's the physical body, there is the in the mind, the perception of self. And on that journey, I like to give the example of, you know, the hero's journey, that there is that process of losing before gaining. But once you put that into practice, you get to a point where you realize if you're always operating from this, I'm losing in order to gain, then you're still in the realm of the mind, and not much is going to happen. You will eventually go through a series of what we call dark nights of the soul, where you'll continue to be pushed a little bit closer, until one day, you know, you do take that leap of faith, knowing that there is no return, you know, that I'm not gaining anything from this. I'm giving it all, you know, in service to truth, and not in service to self or identity or a peak experience. And that is, you know, that is something that is relative to each person on their journey. And the thing is, this is where the aspect of devotion comes in, because the universe is loving. The universe is divinely loving. And, you know, we there is a saying that, you know, God does not create a yearning without a reality ready, waiting to meet it. So that which you long for is that which longs to be seen. And the amount of your willingness to release a part of yourself, you know, is relative to where you are on your journey, on your path. And devotion prepares us for this journey. It prepares us to take us into the underworld. You know, I mean, how else could you get through that without love being your guide? If it's something that's still rooted in the material, if it's something that requires or asks for something in return, you know, there's going to be a limit of how long that dark night of your soul is, or how deep it is. And so you continue to cultivate faith, and you continue to build trust, so that every time you're just stripped bare just a little bit more refined. There's this beautiful poem by Rumi. He says, the minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along. And that is that journey of, you think that there's all this stuff that you have to do and places you have to look, but the journey itself is the de-armoring and the peeling away of the layers and the veils and the personality, until you're able to abide in that that love, that truth that is in you all along. There's another beautiful Sufi saying that says, I was a treasure that wished to be known. So in this is the what we can say that the divine consciousness desiring to know itself through you. And so it created you in your unique experience through your unique body mind to have these experiences of life so that it may know itself better. And when I say it, it's not something separate. It's that, let's say, deepest aspect of yourself. You, in order to look for love and truth, you have to give it all up. And that devotion is required. It's momentous, and that's eventually what can carry you to the very end until there's nothing left. We also think we have to do it all right here, right now, in this lifetime, but at the end of the day, we're not the doer. It is doing itself. And oftentimes in the awakening process, we try, we do everything, we take all the courses, we do all the retreats, we do all the self-work and the diets and the changes and the lifestyles. And, we think that that is our doing, but ultimately there is something much larger at play. And that act of devotion is what serves as a vehicle to help us understand that more and more. And in a way, these two things, right? You're doing the things, and in reality, you don't really have to do them, but in a way you do, because you're stripping and stripping and stripping. And then by the time you start going through the dark nights and that stuff starts melting away, things that who in their right mind would say, yeah, I'm going to give it all up and go into service of the dark goddess, Kali, come take me, take everything. It conceptually, it sounds really beautiful and poetic, but then when it starts to happen, it's terrifying. And it can start with like change of job, losing jobs, then it's losing relationships, losing countries, losing communities. Things began, what needs to be taken away will be taken away. And at that point, you can get down on your knees and beg, but if you are in the process, then it is the process. And so at some point you realize you cannot stop it, but you can look in, you can slow down, you can develop the tools to help you with the self-inquiry. And that force that keeps it all together is that devotion to truth, to love. Going beyond going beyond duality to get to non-duality is a death process.
Yeah, coexisting and at the same time being held. It is such a process, especially, there's poetry to it, and there's fragmentation to it, and the fragmentation is painful to really have a cognition of catching on, a sense of faith when everything is lost. So there is that loss of faith, and then going back to what is my faith really? What am I really devoted to? And it's such a journey of also aspects being revisited and revisited and revisited to be also refined. Thank you for sharing, Zena. It's something, however we try to explain, it comes back to that you go into the fire and you melt. But what is that fire? That fire of love, that fire of transmutation, that element that really changes form into refined spirit. Yet I would like to touch here on how such journeys can be integrated. They are solo journeys in general. We go through them on our own. how are they integrated again? How do we surface again? And how important is the presence of an elder and or a specific lineage that we relate to? It's two parts. Probably, you know, big question, but if we can touch on what that means for you.
So I found that as long as I was in my mind, as long as I was in the world of Zena, that I was not getting very far. It was the same cycle repeating over and over. And so I had to put my allegiance and my loyalty into love, into truth. And to do that, it means, as we were saying earlier, this disarming and this melting away of social constructs of what you think is right or wrong. We have 60,000 thoughts a day, 60,000. And there are 8 billion people in the world today. 8 billion people having 60,000 thoughts a day. How can all of that be truth? Where is the truth in that? And so the process was really to dismantle Zena. And that was going through step by step, a self-inquiry of like what's real and what's not real. And ultimately what is untrue will be taken away and truth remains. And so it's a process of allowing this, whatever needs to be taken away. And at some point it will touch upon your very, your deepest values, your deepest ideas of justice, what is right or wrong, what a country deserves or not, what a people deserve or not. And so
what is fair, what is unfair,
yes. And so even the big things that so many of us, we throw ourselves into service because we want to help, right? We want to change, we want to revolutionize. But we're following an idea that is in our mind. We're following an idea of what we believe to be right or wrong. And then Rumi also has this beautiful beyond right or wrong, there's a field, and I'll meet you there. And that has been, the mantra, basically, that like there is something that is past the thoughts, there is something that is past the social constructs. And at one time in this process, at one stage, you will even have to give up the revolution. You will have to give up all this fight to change, to help, even to be in service. Because when you do the self-inquiry, why am I in service? Why am I in service? I can share my personal revelation was, I believed myself to be broken, wounded, and putting myself in service and helping others would help me. And then the deeper I look into the nature of consciousness and the nature of reality, consciousness is unwoundable. It's that which was never born and never died. You are consciousness. How could you ever be broken? How could you ever be wounded? How could you ever be wrong? And so there was a huge process which I had to withdraw from everything I knew and everyone I knew and all the teaching I was doing and all the people I was helping, because I realized that I have a perception of being separate. The deepest wound, the deepest pain is the belief that you are separate, that you are not love. And so this began the next level of healing and journeying, and only to realize that there is no healing that needs to be done. There is only recognition of your true essence nature, recognition that you are love, you are that, you are unwoundable, you are beyond death, you're perfect, because consciousness is perfect love. And to get to that process, I did need help. And going into, finding a teacher that can hold you accountable, that can tell you, no, you're in your thoughts again, you're believing your social constructs, that kind of realignment is what has taken up the last 4 or 5 years of my life. And that required me disappearing again and doing the work, and I understood that if I want to be in service, I have to be in service to myself first, to know beyond a shadow of a doubt, to have that paradigm shift where it's permanent. It's not knowledge, it's knowing that you are that love. And can you surrender all your tears into that? Can you cry until there's nothing left? Can you accept the ugliest parts of yourself? Because all of that, what you were talking about, going through the process of letting things go, no, that's not what heals us. It's the everything. Consciousness is everything. Hate, violence, that too is consciousness. Otherwise, it would not exist. Shame, guilt, pain, that all exists in our experience of being. But it only becomes painful when we believe it to be something separate. So the work now is learning to become a home to all the homeless bits and pieces of feelings and experiences, wrongs, anything we try to push away is what causes the pain. But following a tradition, which is non-dual Tantra, non-dual Shakta Shaiva Tantra, is the path of accepting it all, accepting the body. Awakening happens through the body. It's not by transcending. It's the marriage of the transcendent and the immanent, the masculine and the feminine, and it happens through the body, not separate from the body. And so the body is carrying all the emotions, all the memories, all of that, but it's only perceived as negative if we consider it bad, separate. So the work to bring all of that into realignment, to accept failure of myself, of my country, of my community, and see it all as the divine play of consciousness. Why? For the sheer delight, for the pleasure of creation. Once all of that was realigned into this understanding that ultimately this is the deepest form of love. The deepest form of love is consciousness desiring to know itself. And it loves you so deeply that it created you so that it could have its own unique experience through your unique body and mind, through your eyes, through your window. And all 8 billion of us are unique in that way. And all 8 billion of us have something beautiful that we're connected by through, is that it's all the one. It's all the one in the many. It's all the one in the 8 billion eyes. But to really know that beyond books, beyond courses, beyond retreats, it's an internal journey through meditation, through practice. And following a lineage means that there is somebody who keeps you accountable, because your thoughts will always try to tell you this or that, or show you a way out, or create a reality. But these are all they're creations of the mind. But the true reality, the truth, is one that comes through the burning away of all of that. And definitely we need elders, we need teachers who are past, who have crossed over, who have melted away completely, so that they can hold you accountable and say, no, Zena, no. You want to help because you perceive yourself to be broken. that's not awakening. That's not reality. That is the perception of your mind.
Hmm. Hmm. It's you know, you've touched on so many things that uh are that touch my heart, and I'm so glad I reconnected with you right after that phase. It has been years we didn't see each other, and we haven't spoken, and we rarely sat with each other. And suddenly, a month ago, you just were in my space and you kept coming back. And I'm like, will she
Hello.
remember me? You know, it's amazing because, you know, usually during those phases of isolation and going inwards and tapping into those aspects that are usually quite, they question everything. I mean, it's that reshuffling from the roots to check in on the roots again, to check in on what is my intention? You know, the way you transcribed it is, what am I devoted to? Like, what is the faith? And if it's coming from, again, a wound, then I need to touch on that, because that's the thing with people being of service, not because it's a defined title. It's the presentation of that. But in tapping into those aspects, there is always the questioning of what is my intention. And if it's coming from that wound that is of separation, the way you were talking about, and or the wound that is deeply rooted in our part of the world, that is, you know, the Jesus archetype, the savior, someone will come and save me, and if not, if it's not going to happen, then I'm going to start saving others. And so it plays out. It's these two sides of the same coin, the victim and the judge. So if we don't go through the deep aspects of what victimhood is, what being a judge, what judging really means, what you spoke to, coming back through that spiral too, we are consciousness expressing itself, but we still have to go through these stages. Most of the time, what happens is that we get lost there. And it's the role of the teacher. And in this case, the teacher is someone who has been there before. It's not someone who, you know, is not in a human body. They are more aware. They can see more. They have more experience. They have more wisdom to tell the disciple or the student, hey, look, this is what's going on. I'm not going to bullshit you. Not that you're enlightened and that's it, which is what is also being seen now in the world of, I'm not going to say healing because it's an overused word. I'm not going to say spirituality, but in the world of consciousness exploration, expansion, plant medicine, all the way to other modalities, Tantra. You know, there's Tantra workshops everywhere. How are we tapping into the depth of Tantra? And how are we tapping into the path of Sufism? You know, what is that devotion, that melting? What does that really mean? The Allah, the one in us. And it's very easy to go into theory and repeat things and repeat and repeat. And yet, really, to align again with what is truth. What is truth? You know, when I lost my teacher and in suicide, he committed suicide, I lost all faith in everything. And I went through a very, very, very dark side part of my life where I'm like, you know, nothing really has any meaning. There's no meaning to anything. If people in the world of healing are greedy and all that part of abuse, then what are we doing? And I go back to what you were sharing over and over again. Medicine for me is truth. I don't know where that came from, but I was looking for truth. I'm like, I want to see the truth. It's not going to be more painful than what I've lived. But let me see it again. And to that, Zena, it's such a, you know, I feel this as you were speaking, I feel this as an embodiment, as impersonating, individuating in that, knowing at the same time being of service to oneself, meaning that is coming also through us. We cannot deny the individual to be of service. And this has been quite the exploration for me, to cancel self. What did that really mean? It was the deep wound of not belonging for me. And so I was acting from that wound. I wanted to belong and community and serving and burn out. And it's quite challenging at the same time when we check in with each other and we speak the same language, even though we haven't spoken for years. Something makes sense. Something makes sense. And I want to thank you for, it's not a thank you for sugarcoating. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are. And thank you for going through this journey to also guide others from that place. We need that. We need that. And the presence of people who are handing over that torch, they're not doing it for anybody. They're doing it for that expression itself. It doesn't have an end point anymore. A kind of a satisfaction, or a kind of, oh, someone will applaud my enlightenment because I'm enlightened. And, you know, there's the crowd, but it becomes, as you said, it is doing, and I'm not doing. It is that expression. And to that, Zena, if you'd like to, I don't know, if you'd like to add anything else when it comes to today's episode, I would love to talk more with you about all of this, the path of devotion. How did Zena come back? How did she come back to? And I'm glad that she did.
Zena didn't come back.
Yeah.
Zena was surrendered into the fire of love. And what is coming through now is, you know, that the power of, there's a word in Tantra, Svatantriya. Svatantriya Shakti is the energy of freedom, the power of autonomy inherent within consciousness itself. So the more you let go of the personality of what Zena wants to do, the more you can abide in what consciousness wants to do through you. And consciousness might not want to do anything. Consciousness might want to just chill on the couch for a year, or consciousness might suddenly swoop in through you, you know, and create exhibitions and workshops and retreats and speeches and whatever. But what my work has been now is to really learn that love is the cause of everything, of all becoming, and to really put my allegiance into this. What does love require of me today? Learning and developing the tools to listen to love, to allow this to be a vehicle through what life, love, and consciousness wants to do through me. So it's this thing of free will. That's a whole other episode on its own. But yeah. I would say, you know, accessing this autonomy is really learning that it's this divine will all the time. And the divine will could say, no, Zena is just going to sit on a bench for the rest of her life. Then so be it. You know, if it's not that it's not about hearing, right? It's just about being in that embodied state to allow what naturally wants to arise through you to arise. So today we're sitting doing a podcast. This naturally, yes, yes, yes. You know, tomorrow could be a totally different story. So the work moving forward is to really be in service to that natural arising that's coming through, and the refining deeper and deeper into how can I be in service to love? How can I continue to cultivate this surrendered state? Because the mind comes back on, right? Triggers from the past, you know, it's a very long journey to clean all of that up and to tune, you know, to that refined, pure calling of love is a long process. So as that's another role of, you know, all teachers need teachers, and all students are students for lifetimes, because there is that constant refining work as well. I'm completely responsible for my own inner state, and you know, that is my work. And again, going back to the Sufis, because why not? You know, I my prayer is, you know, let me be a flute, a ney, so that you may play your beautiful music through me. And whatever it is, whether it's changing a nation or taking the garbage out, sitting on a chair, crying, shitting in the toilet, it's all that. It's all love.
Allah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I you know, there's much more to talk to and to put words on, and I hope we can also, whenever it feels right again, you know, to record something also with a different theme or an extension of the theme for today, the path of devotion. Thank you for your time, Zena. And how can people get in touch with you to ask for your services or being of service guidance?
So once upon a time, I was on Instagram under my name, Zena El Khalil, Zena, no I. There's no I in me. And wow, that was so cliche.
But still, you know, it's valid.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still there. I'm not active currently, but when that comes, if that time comes again, that's the best place to find me.
Wonderful. I'll have your information, or at least that, in the description. And I wish I can be in presence with you in person to share a hug. It's been a while, and it's such a pleasure to have you and to also share with you not only this space, but also to be connected, and to be online somehow and touch base. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maya, for having me. It was wonderful. I haven't spoken this much in quite some time, so forgive me if I seemed overly passionate or enthusiastic at times, but it's when it takes over, it takes over. And how can you speak about love
Indeed.
in any other way?
It's wonderful. It's really, really wonderful. It's that thrill, it's that wave. And thank you for this passion, and thank you for inspiring, because also, you know, this is why I'm doing this, to be inspired, and through this space to inspire others. Thank you everyone for listening. Please share, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing, comment if it feels right. And Zena Al Khalil, lovely, lovely being with you in this space, and hopefully we'll touch base soon again. Bye for now. Many blessings.
Thank you so much.
Bye.